Restrictions in one form or another could be a feature of quite a lot of 2021.
Well, it shouldn't mean that, because then when we get to the autumn with booster jabs in autumn, they might say, well, we need booster jabs in February. And then when we get to February, booster jabs in July, and so on and so forth. So this is no reason and no excuse not to open up the economy. We were told vaccination was the route out of lockdown. We've been in lockdown in one form or another for many, many months. Some communities have been in lockdown for the best part of a year. And come February the 22nd, we want to see a route back to normality.
Isn't the problem that the threat of variants, and looking at Bristol, for example, where we have this mutation of the Kent variant, which is highly transmissible and may not be as responsive to a vaccine, that means unlocking, we're going to see those variants become more widespread?
There are always problems. Coronaviruses evolve. That's been known for many decades, if not a century. So none of this should come as news to any scientist, and it shouldn't come as news to the government. It may come as news to the public, but I'm afraid viruses always evolve, which is why we have a different flu vaccine every year, but we don't go into lockdown every year, and we cannot continue the way we're continuing. This is appalling for society. There are huge levels of anxiety and stress. This is an epidemic of mental health problems probably waiting to come round the corner. Some have already arrived. We have an economy to maintain, and I'm afraid this is just not acceptable. I think for the Secretary of State today for Transport to suggest people shouldn't start booking summer holidays, domestic summer holidays, was an extraordinary statement to make and a very irresponsible statement to make.
Well, you describe it as irresponsible, but is the government right to be urging caution at the moment? Because they've been burned, haven't they, by over-optimistic statements last year. Look at Christmas, for example.
Totally irresponsible. Last year, summer holidays went ahead. Caseload was very low. This year, we have a vaccine. We have a vaccine with very high efficacy rates. So I'm afraid there is no excuse. And it seems to me that you're suggesting that we should just be in permanent lockdown, because there will always be new variants of coronavirus coming along. And if that's what you want, well, I'm afraid it's not going to be sustainable. We will go bust, and we will have social unrest. We will have division. People do actually need to see the people that they love. They do need to hug and hold their children. They do need to mix with their friends. They do need to spend time in other people's company. But if you don't think that's important, and the government don't think that's important, I think they're going to get a rude awakening when the public decide that they've had enough.
I'm not suggesting anything, Sir Charles, at all. We all want to be with our friends and family again. We all want to hug our nearest and dearest again. I'm just asking you whether, given the fact that the Prime Minister told us last year that we'd be back to normal by Christmas, we weren't back to normal by Christmas, were we? In fact, we've seen over 100,000 deaths. Yesterday, we recorded over 1,000 deaths in one day. Everybody wants the economy to be opened up again, but is it the right time to be doing that?
Well, I hope everybody wants the economy to be opened up again, but they will always argue that it's not the right time, just another 6 months, another 6 months. We have the vaccines. We have the vaccines. We were told they were the way out of this. So we vaccinate the population, but you're still in lockdown. People are going to start scratching their heads and start wondering, what on earth is this all about? What the government is doing now is bordering on the very dangerous, to be perfectly honest. It is robbing people of hope. It is robbing people of something to look forward to, and it is very, very stupid and very, very short-sighted. Now, I don't hold the Prime Minister responsible for this, but I do hold his Secretaries of State responsible for this, and he needs to rein them in very, very quickly.
Lord Sumption, appearing on Sky News earlier, said Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, had lost his grip on reality, very angry about the travel restrictions that were brought in yesterday, announced yesterday to come into force on Monday, and in particular the potential sentences for those who break the rules and lie about where they've been. What do you make of that?
An utterly ridiculous thing for the Secretary of State for Health to say. Are we really going to lock people up for 10 years for being dishonest about the fact that they've been to Portugal? By all means, give them a fine, give them a hefty fine, a few £1,000s. Are you really seriously suggesting, Secretary of State, that we've got enough prison capacity to start locking up 19-year-old silly kids for 10 years? What a stupid thing to say. I mean, a really stupid thing to say. that demeans his office and his position around the cabinet table.